Hello, friends. We are back again, editing my warm greetings to all of you. And I hope that you are all in good health and spirit. Friends, in my last video, I had uh, put a topic for the next video of today that was Introduction to Community Medicine. So we will be taking that today. And I want to start this with a very good quote by Rodolphe Virchow. He said that medical education does not exist to provide students with a way of making a living, but to ensure the health of the community. So the learning objective of this video will be you will be able to describe evolution of community medicine, and you will be able to review philosophy of health and disease. This is a very introductory topic, but I felt that to start with it was necessary to review many important points. So how community medicine came into phase of today, let us revise the how medicine itself evolved. So man always he was interested in knowing the causes of the disease and control of the disease, and the first man and women are the first doctors themselves, and medicine has drawn immensely from culture and cultural civilizations, of which health is important component of a culture, and then through biology and behavioral sciences. Today medicine is a broad topic, and it's integral part of socio-economic development of any country. Medicine in ancient times. In ancient times, medicine was dominated by witchcrafts and religion, culture, and magic. And to date back, in the example of in Mesopotamia and Babylon, the students were busy classifying the demons, instead of classifying the diseases. So it was heavily based on supernatural powers and religion and then cultural civilizations. To date back 5,000 before Christ, Ayurveda started from our country. I have a video on Ayurveda, so I will be on alternative medicine that I'll be posting subsequently. The Chinese medicine, the barefoot doctors, acupuncture, and then came, the Egyptian medicine, which thought that disease is due to absorption from the intestine. And then Mesopotamia, as I mentioned, it was based on classifying demons. They thought that the evil spirits are responsible for causing the disease. Then came the Greek. We are the famous our Hippocrates, with that we take the oath, the Hippocratic oath. He was the father of medicine, we call him, and he wrote the book Air, Water, and Spaces. So from there it started, that to find out the cause of disease, the epidemiology in the environment. Then came the Roman medicine. The Roman medicine was more practical than the Greek medicine, where sanitation was very important, and they came with concept of sewers and baths and bathtubs. During the Middle Ages of say 500 to 1500 AD, there was a dark age of medicine where Europe was, ravaged by plague and smallpox and leprosy diseases were ravaging Europe. And so in Rome, the Unani system was started, and the Christianity led to the development of hospitals and medical schools. The period of 1500 AD to say 1800 AD has been a revolutionary era in the evolution of medicine, where the dawn of scientific medicine. The famous Chadwick report, this mid of the 19th century was the sanitary awakening, where in England, by modifying the behavior of the labor population and modifying the environment, surrounding environment, where was took place, that awakening was important. And rather I will say that was gave the birth of public health. And when the Public Health Act was drafted in England, and then we are aware of the father of medicine. One another father is the cholera. For cholera, where John Snow found out that polluted water causes the disease. Then Edward Jenner, and he found out developed the vaccine against smallpox. And so specific protection concepts took place from those times. And preventive medicine births also took place during those times. And other channels to block the disease, like quarantine and disinfection and pasteurization, came into vogue. It was also a time where Ross found out that malaria is caused by bite of a mosquito. And this was an era of the germ theory of the disease developed. And this was the phase where the labs came up. But specific protection, one of the level of prevention came to be known. Other came to were developed later. The modern medicine, 19th century and later, when it was thought that the germ theory was not able to explain all the causes of the disease. And the chronic diseases came into trend. And first in the developed countries, where medicine was divided into curative medicine and preventive medicine. So preventive medicine actually took birth at this time. And we later defined preventive medicine. Then there was discovery of nutritional disorders, the role of hemoprophylaxis, the role of insecticides, risk factor, population explosion popped up. These were the problems. So the three levels of prevention, primary, secondary, and tertiary concept came into important. And then preventive medicine became more and more preventive. Preventive obstetrics and preventive gynae and preventive pediatrics, preventive cardiology. So these concepts took place. What is preventive medicine? We will define in a short course of time. And then, in 1948, in the world, the Constitution, WHO defined health. In later, we will see what was defined as health. And then it was 1977 and 78, and the 30th World Health Assembly, where the concept of health for all by 2080 came up, where health was a central focus for social and economic development. So this is how medicine has evolved. Now coming to how preventive medicine and community medicine, what are the differences and how they have been shaped? Previously, this subject was taught to medical students as hygiene and public health. Let us see what they mean. So this hygia is derived from the word hygiene is derived from the word hygia, which is a Greek mythology. And Hygia and Panacea were two daughters of the goddess of Greek. And where you can see a beautiful lady holding a bowl where a serpent is drinking, and this serpent testifies the art of healing. So what is this? It is defined as science of health and embraces all factors that contribute to healthy living. This is a picture from one of the medical colleges, Baroda Medical College. The entrance shows these two women, beautiful women holding the bowl, and a serpent is drinking. So what is public health? Later I have a video, second video. Next video will be on introduction to public health, how public health evolved, and how it is related to other sister branches as preventive medicine and community medicine. So I'll take this later, but at this point of time, let us define public health. And myths, I had talked about the Chadwick Report 1840, where the Public Health Act was framed from, and that gave the birth of public health. It is actually defined by Winslow. In 1851, he defined public health as the science and art of preventing disease, prolonging life, and promoting health and efficiency through organized community measures such as control of infection, sanitation, health education, health services, and legislation. We'll have a full PPT on one video on public health. Preventive medicine. So I had talked earlier how medicine evolved. Earlier there were supernatural theories, then came the theory of contagion, then came the theory of noxious air and vapors, and the theory of spontaneous generation. It was around mid 19th century where I also earlier talked about this era and the evolution. So preventive medicine developed a specialty only after when Louis Pasteur propagated in 1873 the germ theory of the disease, which led to the development of various immunizations against the germs that were being discovered. And this is an era of bacteriology actually, and the more scientific basis of the causation of disease came into vogue during this time, and which led to the development of vaccines against the organisms that were discovered, like for typhoid, pneumonia, tuberculosis, cholera, diphtheria, and many more came up. Louis Pasteur, he discovered the bacteria in the air, and then he disapproved the last theory of spontaneous generation. And then followed Robert Koch, who had discovered that the bacteria against anthrax. And before that, James Lind, somewhere in 1717, he was a sailor, and he did an experiment and found out that even nutrition, the fruits and vegetables, are also preventive in the disease. This was Louis Pasteur was a bacteriologist, and so came the germ theory of the disease. Now, social medicine. I will say social medicine is a maiden married to public health. I will make a video on this introduction to social medicine, which will be followed by the video on public health. At this point of time, let us see what it is. It is defined as the study of man as a social being in his total environment. It is concerned with health of groups of individuals as well as individuals within groups. This term social medicine was coined in Europe around 1940, and it was Professor Ryle in 1949 who started a separate department of social medicine at Oxford. Actually, this is actually a European concept, and the seeds that medicine actually is a social science was sowed by Virchow. I showed you that quote of Virchow in the second slide. So he and other Newman, they gave the concept that medicine actually is a social science. And after that, with the germ theory of the disease coming up, this was overshadowed in 1800s. Ultimately, in 1911, Alford stressed the importance of social factors in the causation of disease, and then came up the medical sociology and the psychology and anthropology. These branches came up. So social medicine is based on the concept that the suffering of man is not only due to the germs, but there are social factors. So social etiology. And the consequence is not only pathological altercation, but it is also consequence of social factors in the environment, the social pathology. And so there are social remedies are required to control diseases. So only the germ theory cannot explain the entire causation of disease. During that time, it came to be known. And so the interest grew, and it was Charles McIntyre, somewhere in 1857. He was the person who gave the terminology medical sociology should be there, and this branch developed. And actually, this branch is a professional endeavor which takes into account the social epidemiology and the cultural factors in the causation of the disease and the need for social therapy in the disease process to have a more holistic approach to the disease prevention and control. But it was in 1968 when, in the Todd's report, it is given that when epidemiology developed as a branch, social medicine, got a back seat, and community medicine was given birth. Later on, I'll mention that. So preventive and social medicine. I earlier said that it is not only the germs that are causing the disease, and not only the control of germs, but even social factors in the causation of the disease. So a holistic approach of both together was required, and this evolved the concept of preventive and social medicine. So preventive and social medicine has gained wide acceptance in the last 25 years. Today, it implies a system of total healthcare delivery to the individuals, families, and communities at the clinic, in the hospital, and in the community itself. Community medicine. Before that, I would also give a mention of family medicine, because there are universities who give degree in family medicine also. So family medicine is neither organ specific or disease specific. It is family oriented medicine, where family oriented care is given to the entire family, starting from the prevention of the disease to the early diagnosis and treatment and rehabilitation, given to the family and the family as a unit. And when disease happens, then it is known as family practice. Coming to community medicine, so it has been defined as the field concerned with the study of health and disease in population of defined community or group. Here I will mention that to both to the healthy and the sick. Its goal is to identify the health problems and needs of defined populations, that is, diagnosing the diseases in the community, and to plan, implement, and evaluate the extent to which the health services effectively meet these needs. WHO study group, has mentioned that and suggested that each country should have their own definition of community medicine based on their traditional geography, needs, resources, and culture. And this is interchangeably used as PSM and SPM and public health and community medicine, even not only in India, but in many other developed countries as well. In USA and UK, the word community medicine is freely used, and but it is freely used and taught, but the subject is known as public health. And one of the reference I've given here is the Maxine Rosenau-Last, that this is the book of community medicine that you also all should either possess or read from your libraries. So it was in 1968, I earlier mentioned, that social medicine was replaced by community medicine. Later, the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons in England, they were given the responsibility to set standards for teaching postgraduates in community medicine, and they would be called as the community physicians. So different countries have different, but the range of teaching, the competencies, any of them would be some of the common competencies required to be efficient to treat this subject effectively in the community. This was the first objective. So briefly, we have described the evolution of medicine and the terminology, the changing concept of public health and the other specialities. The second one is, let us quickly also revise what is health. Health is generally understood as absence of disease, but this is only a law and order definition, which is rejected by WHO, which recognizes only positive, ideal, maximum attainable, or total health. So in 1948, WHO has defined as a state of complete physical, mental, social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. There are other dimensions being added, like spiritual and vocation, and other dimensions are being added to this. This definition is actually criticized because it is very wide, and it is idealistic goal rather than realistic phenomenon. We cannot measure. The epidemiologists who want to study the epidemiology of health are unable to measure health. But still, it is in its intention, it is very positive and has set standards for defining health, and it symbolizes aspirations and represents the overall objective of the countries to strive for health. Health is not, it is a dynamic state. If we cannot attain one's health for one for all. It has to be maintained on a daily basis. It lies on a continuum where there is no cutoff point, and this is the spectrum of health, which on the upper side shows freedom from disease, better health, and positive health. So WHO definition is the highest attainable on this side of the spectrum. Then the other side is unrecognized sickness, mild disease, severe disease, and death. So the summary is that health is dynamic. So what happened is, it was in 57 in the technical report series 137. It has been given, that because it is difficult to measure health. So WHO came up with an operational definition of health, which has two orders. One is broad sense and one is narrow sense. So in broad sense, it is the quality of a human expressing adequate functioning of organs in a given genetic or environment. The other one is, there is no obvious absence of disease and the person is functioning normally. The several organs of the body are functioning adequately in themselves and in relation to each other. So there is a equilibrium or homeostasis, and this is based on the criteria which is set for each gender and age, and can be also modified by the countries. So this become now measurable. A new philosophy of health. So what are the nuances in health? One is that I earlier also talked that it is integral part of socio-economic development. So any quality assurance program has two components. One is the objective and one is the subjective. In the objective component, we look into the standard of living, the socio-economic status, and the subjective is the subjective feeling of a personal of being happy or without disease or satisfied based on certain concerns of life. So even the standard of living alone cannot bring up quality of life. And for having quality of life, providing quality of life, health is an important component. If one is healthy, one can say that one is happy. So the countries strive for bringing in social reforms and reformulation of the social goals to bring in quality of life. So this is now after the definition of health. What is required is providing quality of life to individuals. Health is also fundamental right. So historically, I will say that countries proclaimed very late about their rights. It was in 1948, India and WHO also, though, during that time, in their constitution, they spelled out that every individual has a right to standard of living, for health and for well-being of each and for his or her and the family in totality. So health is not something that is given in charity, or it is, it is a right. It is a right to be provided. Some countries, those who have not framed that fundamental right, they have spelled out as freedom from health, right to freedom from health, where there should be a comprehensive social insurance for during the unhealthy states, for treatment, management, and also looking after in concerns of invalidity and old age. And those countries who don't have this also, they have to spell out that every individual has right to available health services. Then for the right based issues are, growing up where, the deceased has a rights, removal of organ, and there is a right even at that time. So individuals and lawyers and ethicists and physicians work together to frame guidelines in those rights. Whose responsibility? It's responsibility of ourselves, individuals, families, communities, local, national, and international responsibility. Here I will mention the Almeida conference, when national health policy was after that was framed. And during that time, in the 30th World Health Assembly, where WHO came up with, asked the member countries to, there was a conference, and the social, the disparity among health in different countries, different class of people, socially, politically, and economically unexpected. So that was, for that reason, the goal was framed, and goal was health for all by 2000 AD, and the means to have this health for all was primary health care, and where it was proclaimed that health is an important integral part of development. It is a social investment, and it should be a worldwide social goal. And because health is not only like one factor or two factor, it is multifactorial. Apart from the internal genetic endowment and the external environment, there are so many factors which affect health, the determinants of health. So it needs a intersectorial approach, and intersectorial approach is increasingly getting wider acceptance and increasingly needed. So for example, if the child has malnutrition, so in the life cycle approach, the mother has been of low birth weight, she has not taken good nutrition, the child was low birth weight, the child was from a lower socioeconomic status, the food was not available, the agricultural department, the mother was not educated, the education component. There are so many components affecting, so there should be an intersectoral approach to health. And these are the determinants that I was talking about, apart from biological, behavioral, environmental, rights, gender, information, technology, health services available. They all integrate to make or mar the health of the person. Let us see what is disease. So health has been defined, but disease has not been defined. But if we want to define, disease is a physiological or psychological dysfunction defined professionally. Then what is illness? Illness is a subjective state of the person who feels aware of not being well. So person says, I don't feel well today. That's illness. As a result of illness, what is there? The person needs some rest. So he becomes sick, he or she becomes sick. So sickness is a state of social dysfunction based on professional and social agreement. These are the references, friends. buy this book or see the, you should consult the book from your library, the Maxi Rosner Last, then Park and IAPSM textbook of community medicine. So my next video will be on the topic of introduction to public health. So dear friends, all love to you, and I hope you're learning, and like, share the channel, and you subscribe to my channel. Have a day as lovely as you all are. Thank you.